Hello, welcome back to Let It Cook cooking channel. Today we'll make a simple Italian dish, ricotta eggplant rolls. For this we need basil, good olive oil, aged balsamic vinegar, pecorino, organic lemon, a bit of thyme, anchovies, ricotta, pepper, salt, cherry tomatoes and eggplant, capers and pine nuts. White wine and garlic, those are in the recipe even though I left them off the list, so make sure to get them. So what recipe is next? We have a small vacation apartment in Tuscany, in Rada in Chianti, and there's my favorite restaurant there, Panzanella. They're getting really big here now. They probably won't hear this, but that's my favorite restaurant, and they have an appetizer there that I don't want to keep from you. I eat it every time I'm there. Super easy and delicious. Let's make it together. For that, chop the garlic as finely as possible, just really finely. Now we'll chop it very finely. And now we're adding capers. I'll leave a few aside for the mold so I can put some in there too, and I'll add a few to the mixture already. Then the two anchovies are always a bit tricky. Not everyone likes them, so only use them if your guests do too. I think it fits this dish. Italians use anchovies in many dishes. Just chop it as finely as possible. The anchovies would probably dissolve on their own, but I'm just going to chop them up now. This would be a nice let it cook knife. There's a link up here. There aren't many left, my friends. If you want to get one, you have to hurry, because after that, I won't be selling them anymore. Because they've raised the prices so much now that I think 200 euros is too expensive for a knife like this, and that's why I'll be looking for another manufacturer. It costs more each year. You can take a look. This goes to the recorder, then here. Add a little lemon zest. I still have half left from another recipe. Don't let that confuse you. That gives it a fresh kick. And a few basil leaves, or whatever herb you prefer to use. You can also use lemon thyme, you can use rosemary. All kinds of Italian herbs work great. Oregano, marjoram, whatever you can find. Okay, that too. Then a bit of pepper, a little bit of salt, and a bit of olive oil, which is also from down there. I was recently asked in the comments which olive oil I use. I have to be honest, I always bring it from Italy because I think it's just insanely good. In those Coop supermarkets, in those huge stores, there's a Coop with a swing top bottle. It's organic olive oil, which I think is brilliant, and it's cheaper than here. I always bring 5 bottles and keep refilling them. And now just stir it all together, everything very well. If you're worried about leaks, you can add an egg yolk. I like it best when it doesn't bind inside but stays somewhat half liquid, keeping that consistency. That's why I'm not adding any egg yolk now. Okay, then let's give it a try. I could still add a pinch of salt, otherwise it tastes really, really delicious. Okay, now let's quickly halve the cherry tomatoes. I want to put them in the baking dish as halves. Like I said, this is a really easy dish. It's made so quickly. The only thing that's a bit tricky is you have to cut the eggplant into very thin strips. I'm still kind of dreaming of finally getting a slicer for my home. That's something we chefs really like. Unfortunately, I've never gotten myself a slicer at home. That's why I'm struggling with this now. I hope I can manage, though it's much easier with a slicer. I'm just going to cut a slightly thicker piece now because I need a clean surface so I can get really nice slices. Well, yeah, it's not working just like that. So now I'm going to try cutting it with a thin fillet knife. I think that works better. Yeah, exactly. That's a bit nicer. Because they should be really clean, paper-thin slices since we don't want to sear them beforehand. We're going to fill them raw now, so they need to be cut pretty cleanly. But this way, it works. If your slicer is a bit newer than mine, I'll say carefully and still properly sharp, then it works with these slicers. Sadly, you can see the difference. It completely ruined it for me and doesn't look good. And that's why I'm going to cut it now with my old filleting knife. Still sharp. Exactly. Well, let me put it this way. About a millimeter thick, roughly, so I'll say this. If you manage to get it to a millimeter, then you're doing it perfectly. Just take a look. It's a little tricky. Like I said, it's not easy to cut it by hand. If you have a bread slicer at home, like a deli slicer, then use that. It's easy to use and lets you adjust the thickness more precisely. But as my boss used to say, those cooks are lousy who don't know how to help themselves. Right? Best regards go out. Jan Rabe, who's sitting somewhere in Brazil in a 5-star hotel. He probably won't hear me either. But he always said that to me during the apprenticeship. Let's start this way and add more if needed, depending on how much material we have. Now I'll put these here. And if these didn't turn out that great, like if they're still a bit too thick, a bit too hard, or like in my case, very uneven, then as a little trick, we can sprinkle a bit of salt on them and let them sit for a short while, just a few flakes of salt on top and wait a moment. Then the slices will be kind of pre-cooked, they'll get soft and will be easier to roll, so just add salt, wait 5 minutes. Should we really see each other again in 5 minutes? You can see that water has formed on top and the slices are softening. If you have a slicer, you can skip this. If cutting thicker by hand, just do it like I do. Now we add some olive oil to the dish. Then we add a bit of white wine. If you're making this for kids, you can just add broth instead. A bit of pepper, a pinch of salt. Then we can add the remaining capers as well. Just put them in. It also gives a good flavor and the water from them doesn't bother at all. And now you go ahead and always put a bit of the mixture on top. Spread it out to about halfway like this and then roll it up from the back because the mixture will always get pushed a bit forward anyway. Yeah, and when you roll it up all the way like that, then it's filled all the way to the front. And now we just place it in here nicely. Okay, I'll just finish this up quickly, all right? This will take forever and we'll have to watch for ages. I'll show you immediately after. The rolls are ready and turned out great. It works perfectly so you don't need a slicer. They fit just fine. And now we'll toss the little tomatoes in between. I just turned the oven on to 170 degrees, or rather, Linus turned it on to 170 degrees. Convection, yes, let it preheat nicely. Now I have a few sprigs of my winter thyme from the balcony. I'll just add a bit of that. It's actually much more intense in flavor than when you use it fresh, so you don't need much. Just sprinkle a few leaves on top. Now comes the pecorino. I just bought a young pecorino here and now we'll grate a bit nicely over the rolls. And this can also be prepared really well in advance. So especially if you're planning a menu with several courses, make this as a starter, make it ahead of time. You can also, in theory, just prepare it like this, cover it with some plastic wrap, and then in the evening, shortly before the guests arrive, just put it in the oven. And now I'm going to pour another layer of olive oil over the rolls. You know yourself, Italians don't skimp on olive oil. And now comes the whole thing. How long will it take? Around 20-25 minutes in the oven until golden, then I'll show you. I almost forgot the pine nuts. Of course, they have to go on top. That's another highlight. I know pine nuts are expensive, but you can also chop up walnuts and put them on top. Tastes just as good. And now into the oven with it. Exactly 30 minutes later, it looks like this. After 25 minutes, I turned the oven up by 50 degrees to about 220. So it gets a little more brown on top. It wasn't really brown yet. Now we'll add a bit of pepper on top. Skip if you don't have a good one. Aged aceto balsamico, but it only tastes great if it's something of good quality. That creamy balsamico every Italian in Munich puts on your plate's edge. I don't need it and haven't seen it in Italy. And now just a little bit of that balsamico on top because it adds a really mild acidity. And now we just add a few fresh basil leaves on top. Just sprinkle them in between so it looks nice. If that doesn't look amazing when you put it on the table, your guests will be thrilled. The best part about cooking is tasting just a little piece of tomato. I need to be careful since I just took this out of the oven and it's very hot. That's why I'm being cautious. Honestly, I just think it's super, super awesome, I have to tell you. Try cooking it yourselves, give it a shot. It's so quick to make. It's such a simple dish, but it has such a wow effect when you put it in your mouth. Really no exaggeration, it tastes fantastic. Have fun cooking, my dears. See you next week. Take care. Bye.